Internet, what is really, really, really good? You know it is. It's the one and the only, the triple, the G.O.D. And of course, I'd like to welcome you guys back to another installment of Triple the Guy Speaks On. And yo, I'd like to welcome you to Rage in a Cage, Penis in Your Rank. I'm not even going to something about jelly. No, no. Internet, welcome to Hell in a Cell. Yeah, Hell in a Cell. This thing where people fall through it, get thrown off of it, blah, blah, blah. And now there are 3 matches in it in the same night. Shit is weird, yo. Shit is weird. But as usual, I got what you need. Well, at least what I need, because I enjoy what it is that I do when I talk about this stuff, is I have the results in front of me, and we are just going to quickly run through this pay-per-view because that's what it is that I does. Okay. Y'all know the drill. I don't watch a pre-show, but on the pre-show, according to the results, the cruiserweights took center stage on the pre-show with Cedric Alexander, Lince Dorado, and Sin Cara beating the team of Tony Nese, Drew Gulak, and Daivari. So there were cruiserweights. Hooray! Not saying that it ain't nothing wrong with the cruiserweights, because maybe I should talk about this now because we still have T.J. Perkins versus Brian Kendrick to actually talk about a match with the cruiserweights. But I will say this since I haven't had the opportunity to. I'm glad that the cruiserweights get their shine on Raw the way they do, because I thought they were gonna be stuck out there first early. They getting plenty of time on TV. They getting plenty of time on TV in both vignettes and in matches. So I'm glad to see that they just not just some sideshow attraction. They're actually just a part of the show, just like every other wrestler. So I just wanted to get that out the way. So let's get to the thing that we pay for. It's called a pay-per-view. It was called Rage in a Cage, Penis in Uranus, something about a jelly donut and a cop and shoving it up your ass or something. Hell in a Cell. In our opening match, which was our first of 3 main events, Roman Reigns beat Rusev, and just like, okay. I am not invested in this feud, not because of any personal dislike of Roman Reigns or anything having to do with Rusev. It's just that I'm just not engaged in the storytelling. The match was alright. There was an accolade used on top of a stair using a chain, and somehow Roman Reigns powered out of it because, okay. Other than such, you know what I'm saying? It was a Hell in a Cell match, but it's not what I'm used to in a Hell in a Cell match, but there is actually a Hell in a Cell match that gave me what it was I was looking for in a Hell in a Cell match. This wasn't it. There you go. Bayley beat Dana Brooke because Dana Brooke accidentally beat Bayley clean a couple weeks ago on Raw, and it's just like something about unintended finishes to matches, so yay. But it was an alright match, you know what I'm saying? But they need to find something to do with Dana Brooke and Bayley, because it's like, I'm like, Dana Brooke, that once they build up, she gonna get a decent run at the women's title, I think, and I think Bayley too. But it's like Bayley gonna get some reigns, but it just ain't her time now. Neither for Dana Brooke, because right now it's about Charlotte and Sasha, because that is what the women's title revolves around, and we will get to that match a little bit later. Gallows and Anderson beat Enzo and Big Cass, and I'm just sitting up here like, I don't know even what to say. I'm like, the tag team division gonna be a fucking mess until the New Day break the record, and we will get to their title defense a little later. But Anderson and Gallows beating Enzo and Big Cass means what for the tag team picture? The answer we're looking for is a big fat goose egg. That is what you're looking for. Big fat goose egg. Does nothing for either one of them teams. Is that, again, Gallows and Anderson needed to win the match storyline wise because they need to look like a threat, so when they take the title off the New Day, which is going to happen pretty damn soon, and I would think before, because I said this a couple months ago, but the New Day gonna lose the titles before the Rumble. I don't think the New Day gonna break up or anything, but they gonna lose the titles to Gallows and Anderson. And like my prediction, it still stands where Big Cass, well, Big Cass and Enzo will win it at WrestleMania because you need that WrestleMania moment, and I really think that's the way they're gonna get it. But they gotta keep Gallows and Anderson looking strong, so they got to sit up here and beat tag teams. But because, like I say again, nobody beating the New Day till they beat Demolition's title reign. So that's just what that's going to be for now, and we will get to that a little bit later. Like I said, Kevin Owens is still Universal Champion because he beat Seth Rollins with the help of the Ayatollah of something or whatever. Look, I'm like, the match was okay. That fire extinguisher spot was fucking godlike. Beginning, middle, end. That I'm like, the match was cool. People got power bombed, but that fire extinguisher spot to get Jericho in the cage so he could help KO win. That shit was godlike. Because I swear, I'm like, for a second, I was fooled in thinking like KO did that shit on accident. I was fooled. That's how godlike it was. I was like, the commentator's like, does Kevin Owens know how to use a fire extinguisher? I'm like, that spot was godlike, yo. That's like, that spot was godlike. I'm like, I'm for real. And it's like, you would think a whole wrestling match, like the standout thing in a wrestling match is a spot with a fire extinguisher. But yes, the hottest thing in a match was a spot with a fire extinguisher because of how ingenious it was. How ingenious it was and how it fit into the storytelling that they trying to tell with KO and Chris Jericho. At the same time, ain't no way Seth Rollins winning the title now. Because we got Survivor Series, and I don't think no titles will be defended because anybody who are going to be in the 3 Survivor Series matches, and probably before we get out of here, I need to figure out when the next SmackDown pay-per-view is because I have no fucking clue. And maybe I should have researched that before I hit record. But again, like I said, that fire extinguisher shit is out, and I can repeat that all night. If there is a list for like spot of the year, fire extinguisher spot, hot. It was like, that was next level shit. So shout out to my boy KO. My boy KO doing work. But like I said, it's that, again, like I was saying, it's like Seth Rollins had to lose. But Seth Rollins going to have to keep losing to KO over bullshit because that keeps him legitimately in the title picture, which makes sense. It legitimately it's just like how over on SmackDown, and we will just talk about this for a second, how on SmackDown Dean Ambrose still in AJ Styles orbit because they can't find shit to do with Bray Wyatt, something about fucking Randy Orton, no motherfucking ass. But because of the way that match went down in No Mercy, that kept Dean Ambrose in this orbit, and this is what it's doing for Seth Rollins because ultimately, you would think the payoff for all of this is going to be a Mania match between Rollins and the Gang. So you're going to have to do something with that. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out because I have a feeling that it's going to be a lot of Raw and SmackDown going forward, at least until Survivor Series. It's going to be people getting along, and either it's going to be title defenses on Raw and SmackDown before Survivor Series, or all of this shit is just going to be put on like super pause until after Survivor Series, and then they go back to storytelling as normal. Anywho, Brian Kendrick, excuse me, is your new Cruiserweight champion. And I will say this. Even for TJ Perkins video game isms, and I will call them that, because I'm gonna call him out on that, no bullshit. I'm gonna call him out. Is that match, especially at the end when how Brian Kendrick beat TJ Perkins, is wonderful storytelling. Is that regardless for what happened in the ring, is that the storytelling outside the ring with TJ Perkins and Brian Kendrick and all the history and stuff, that was stuff that was actually brought into the match. And every time the WWE makes an attempt to do this and get it correctly, I'm going to applaud them for it because that's great storytelling. Is that TJ Perkins lost the title because of a concern about somebody he came up with. Brian Kendrick took advantage of that, So I'm not really sure because this cruiserweight stuff is new, like to really call like what's gonna happen. T.J. Perkins gonna get his rematch, but Brian Kendrick lost to Rich Swann, so I don't know what that really means for what story it is you wish to tell about that. But we will see. We will see where this goes from here. But congratulations to Brian Kendrick. I'm the man with a plan, or something like that. But yo, I've been waiting for this for a month. Let me just get this off my motherfucking chest, please. Please, internet. Fuck with your boy. You start with a best of 7 that goes undecided. Instead of giving Cesaro and Sheamus each a title shot or making them wrestle one more time, here's an idea. Let's put them in a fucking tag team. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's great. Let's sit up here and let's shit on everything that these dudes then put each other through and what was some hot matches in that best of 7 between the two for it to end the way it did at Night of Champions on some bullshit finish. And then for them to be rewarded with a tag team, to be rewarded by being put into a tag team and getting a tag team title shot. Why? Because technically, putting them together in a tag team, giving them a title shot, technically awards them the thing that they were allegedly supposed to, one of them was supposed to win. And it's just like, you guys really couldn't find a way to like blow both of them off and let them both go at KO at the same time and let one of them get power bombed and let them float and let another one float around in the orbit and let him get pop up power bombed or something and just move on. Your idea is to put them in a tag team and give them a shot at the New Day. And then you follow this up by making it somewhat believable storyline-wise that they could probably win the tag team titles, even though I just said about 6 minutes ago that no one's winning the tag titles until New Day beats Domination's reign. After that, then yes. But I will sit up here and I will give it to them. Is that, yeah, the New Day won on some bullshit because Kofi Kingston kicked the shit out of Sheamus, or whatever. But I thought this whole Cesaro Sheamus shit was fucking stupid. I just thought it was stupid because it's a waste of both men. I understand that you get this old odd couple, Felix Unger shit or whatever you own at this point. But it does nothing for either man. I understand you need something for them to do. You need something to fill your 3-hour TV show with. Well, actually 2 hours and some odd minutes because of commercials. But this whole tag team nonsense was a waste of both of them. And I'm a big Cesaro fan. I'm a big Cesaro fan for real. I've been a Cesaro fan when he was doing this thing as Claudio Castagnoli back in the day and RH and all that. And Sheamus, I'm like, I never really agree with the beginning of Sheamus' career, especially that big old monster push he got real early on, but I've learned to forgive. But this is a waste of both men, especially after what Cesaro said during all that draft shit. This is just a waste of them. It's a waste of them, but it's a way to keep New Day safe until you ready to feed them to Gallows and Anderson. So it makes sense, but it makes no sense because like I said, New Day gonna get fed to Gallows and Anderson, who are ultimately going to lose to Enzo and Big Cass. That's what's going to happen because that's the thing that not only makes sense, but it's the thing that you probably do anyway. But you gotta keep the New Day safe somehow. Is that you couldn't keep putting Gallows and Anderson in matches with the New Day and they keep getting fucked over even though they should be winning the matches because of reasons. So, there you go. I am glad I was able, because I've been holding this all Sheamus shit in for like a month and some change now. So I'm glad that I have the opportunity to say what bullshit it was. So I'm like, as much as I love the New Day, I'm like, I'm ready to see a change in the tag team division. When it come to Raw, I'm ready to see what's really good what's gonna be with the tag team division once they give Andersons and Gallows the belt and let them run with it for a minute to get the complexity and get some new blood in there, because New Day had the titles for Hellas. If they would have never lost the titles to the primetime players in the first damn place, they would have been over this title reign, and you could have been and put the titles on Gallows and Anderson a lot sooner. But again, like I say, it's a perfect setup though. You let them hold the titles, let them be domination's reign. They lose it at the next pay-per-view to Gallows and Anderson because they somehow wormed their way into a title shot. You let them run roughshod over the tag team division, ultimately letting Enzo and Big Cass get it at Mania because, again, WrestleMania moments or whatever. Poor Cesaro and poor Sheamus being wasted talent. And now I've said the same thing 3 times and I am done talking about it. How about that? Our main event of the evening. Boy, how do I want to say this? That was difficult to view. And I'm not saying it because Charlotte and Sasha are women, but because out of all 3 of the Hell in a Cell matches, the match between Charlotte and Sasha was the one that looked brutal as fuck. That was a brutal match to watch. They were trying to kill each other. But that's what you want. Because when you are trying to tell a story in a ring, what you want is for me and everybody else watching to believe the story you're telling. And what I saw was 2 wrestlers trying to end each other permanently. That power bomb before the beginning of the match that Sasha did that Sasha took from Charlotte, that shit was nuts. There was an "I am the table" moment. It was a whole bunch of stuff, but I'm just like, this is probably one of my. It's like this is like the 3rd or 4th time I've said a match between Charlotte and Sasha has possibly been a match of the year candidate. Might not win any awards, but Charlotte and Sasha, they bring it every time they get in the ring. They go at each other's throats, and I'm like, that's what wrestling should be about. It's like, I don't even want to say nothing. It's like you can skip the whole pay-per-view and watch the Charlotte versus Sasha match and get everything you need out of the pay-per-view that you're watching, because everything else was alright. You know, it's like there are a lot of things there, you know, that the complexity of the storylines are about to change because of titles changing hands and people winning and losing. But that's a match that needs to be watched. That can be watched separately from all the storylines to just see 2 wrestlers brutalize each other. Because that's what Charlotte and Sasha did. They brutalized each other. My only question is, was that the intended finish? That's my only question. Because it really looked like, I don't know if because Sasha really fucked up back up for real, and that natural selection for the finish was to go home, to make it look brutal and go home so Sasha wouldn't hurt herself no more, or was part of the finish that Sasha was supposed to buckle so that Charlotte could beat her. Because it really looked like that her back legitimately gave out when she was about to power bomb Charlotte through that table. So I'm really unsure what the hell is going on. And, you know, like I said, at this point, by the time you guys see this, Raw be on, and I don't watch Raw live because, you know, I got other stuff to do. Like, you know, watch Supergirl, but still. Point is, that was an amazing match from 2 great wrestlers, beginning, middle, and end. Pay-per-view was okay. That fire extinguisher spot in the Owens-Rollins match, godlike. The storytelling in the Kendrick TJ Perkins match, hot. That Charlotte-Sasha match, you can skip the whole, like I said, skip the whole damn pay-per-view and watch the Charlotte-Sasha match. It's like, you probably could fast forward through halfway through the Owens-Seth Rollins match to the fire extinguisher spot and everything that follows, because that was the hot part of the match. Everything else is eh. Everything else is eh. Like for real. The fire extinguisher spot, the end to the Kendrick Perkins match, and everything Charlotte versus Sasha. Everything else is eh. And I shouldn't be saying that about a WWE pay-per-view, but here I am saying eh because it was eh. There you go. That is a pay-per-view. I promise you, before we get out of here, I'm going to find out what the next okay, so the next SmackDown pay-per-view, so SmackDown gets TLC. It don't make no sense to me why, but oh well, that do make sense. Well, if you give SmackDown, if you give Raw Hell in a Cell, then it makes sense for TLC to get for SmackDown to get TLC. I think personally that when we get to next year, Extreme Rules, that should be a co-brand pay-per-view. I really think that Extreme Rules should be a co-branded pay-per-view. That just makes sense. But I do see that one that if, like I said, if Raw get Hell in a Cell, they should get table, ladders, and chairs. Or that one year where they include chairs, it was weird because yeah, here's an idea: put Big Show and Eric Rowan in the stairs match because we ain't got fuck off of neither one of these people to do. Put them in a stairs match. What the hell? But yo, let me take a look at something real quick before we get out of here. Let me see. So, Roadblock is after Hell in a Cell. So, let me see. So, if you got Roadblock after that. So, if it's Roadblock after that, let me see. If it's Roadblock and then, why would they put, okay. I don't get what the hell going on. So, I don't know. So, after Roadblock, Roadblock is a December pay-per-view, which I guess is for SmackDown. And then January is the Royal Rumble. And then I don't know what they going to do after the Royal Rumble because usually it was Fastlane. It was like last year because it was Fastlane and Roadblock, and that made sense before because of the whole Road to WrestleMania stuff, and then it was WrestleMania 32. So with two brands, what do you do with that? I don't know. But it'll be interesting to find out. I apologize for holding y'all this long while I'm sitting up here trying to do my own research in the middle of reviewing the pay-per-view that I said was at. So how about that? That's it. How y'all gonna hear from me? Y'all won't hear from me until it's time for me to review X-Ada that I got Ruby on the weekend. Really quickly, man. Yo, shout out to Mariah Saloon Zone. That beat is hot. Shout out to my man T Lopez doing his thing. You know what I'm saying? I done downloaded the rip off the internet. I've been beating that all day. That's my shit. Mariah Saloon Zone. Yo. Sonic Mania gonna be that business. And you know, we'll talk more about that soon. But as usual, for the 5 people that will actually watch this, because I've seen the numbers, I know y'all don't like this shit, but I don't do it for y'all, I do it for me. Don't worry about it. But as usual, thank you for joining me for these 22 minutes. While something I could have done easily in 10, but I had to get that Cesaro Sheamus shit off my chest. I needed to air that out. Raw need to be aired out for that bullshit, so I did that. So, you guys will join me later this week for X-Aid. I got y'all on Saturday as soon as I finish watching Ruby and whatever else may happen because I got some plans for something, but I don't want to talk about that to see if that's actually going to turn into something. And, I still got the serious thing to talk to y'all about once I get that together. So, with that being said, I am the one and the only, the triple, the G.O.D. And I'd like to thank you for joining me for another installment of Triple the Guy Speaks On. And with that, I'll let you guys next time, man. Peace out.